actually, we could probably... we'll get to Harry in just a little while, but incredibly, he's not top of the agenda today. A warm welcome to royal biographer Angela Levin. Morning, Angela.
Good morning.
Let's talk about Prince Andrew for once. I don't want to, but I think we must. We're hearing that now the Queen, quite rightly, said, look, you've been very unwise. You've had a close friendship with a convicted paedophile. You've been accused of sexually abusing, assaulting a girl on 3 continents. You deny that, but you've given her $12 million not to go to court. People are suspicious. Therefore, I don't want you to do frontline royal duties, and I'm taking away your His Royal Highness title, HRH. You can't use that anymore. That has been the state of play since that happened a year or so ago. He apparently, Andrew, is planning to quietly start reusing HRH with the tacit approval of the King. Now, I'm hoping that this story is a slight exaggeration and the King will turn round and say, may I remind you of what our mother ordained, that you will not be HRH anymore. You can't do this. We don't want him reassuming his HRH status, do we?
Of course not. But actually, the Queen had to be persuaded to do this by King Charles and Prince William. It wasn't her making sure that he did that, because he was her favourite for some reason, but he had a way of turning around his little finger. But King Charles absolutely did not like the way he behaved for many, many years, and he persuaded the Queen. So I can't believe that at all, that in these difficult times for the royal family, he will switch. There's nothing to make him switch. I think what is just a sort of nonsense thing going out, really. I don't know how you can use HRH low-key. Do you speak about it quietly, or do you just use HR and let everybody guess whether it's an HRH? I mean, what nonsense is that? How can you use it low-key? You either use it or you don't use it. He wants to do a bit of dealing, do a bit of business. I don't know that King Charles can stop him from doing that, but I'm absolutely 100% sure that he can't behave on behalf of the royal family. It's not going to happen. King Charles is absolutely against this, and William will hit the roof because he's appalled by his uncle's behaviour.
Indeed. And my sense is, because King Charles, right back to the days when he was Prince Charles, has always taken a tough line with Andrew. And given the scandals that we were just discussing, the kind of torrid 2 years that he's been through, the King is right. This guy cannot be allowed to creep back into public life, and that's what this is about. If he manages to achieve his dream of regaining his HRH status, that will be one step in his mind on the road back to full rehabilitation in royal. So it's not going to happen, is it?
No, it's not going to happen. And actually, we ought to remember that the years agreement that neither Virginia Giuffre nor Prince Andrew would actually say anything else about the accusations. She can now, very shortly, she can write a book, she can give interviews, she can talk about it again.
Yes.
The period of quietness is soon to come to an end. And at that time, he's trying to use the royal title. Gosh, no. Yeah. And what you were talking about before in Maxwell being interviewed on Monday, we don't know what she might say about Andrew. She's been quite supportive of him, but having spent all this time in prison, we don't know. So perhaps we'll find out. But I can't believe that that's going to happen. It's just... If it was April the 1st, it would fit in very well.
He's in denial, though. He continues... This guy, throughout all of this, has been in denial. He's not
very bright, is he? He's not very bright. He thought his Panorama interview was absolutely a great success when it was a hideous failure. So he hasn't... His instinct is not something that we can rely on.
Talking of not very bright, let's move on to Harry and Meghan now. This is well-trodden territory now, but I think it's ungracious if someone... I mean, Jeremy Clarkson, having written a very ill-advised couple of paragraphs in his column in The Sun, you know, talking about hating Meghan and having her pelted nude with excrement as she's paraded through the streets. Very ill-advised, nasty stuff to write. But, you know, my God, has he been apologising? He's apologised, as he put it, from the balls of his feet to the follicles of his hair. You know, I'm putting my hands up. I really am very, very sorry. Da-da-da-da-da. And what do the royal couple in Montecito do? They throw that apology back in his face and say he's got to atone for his pattern of misogynist, hate-fuelled rhetoric that he writes, that he's been propagating conspiracy theories, misogyny and hate. I'd like to have one example of a conspiracy theory that Jeremy Clarkson has put forward as true. I don't think there are any. What right do they have? They have a right to sort of say, you said horrible things about us and we don't accept your apology. I think that's ungracious, but they have a right to do that. What I don't think they have a right to do is to cast their aspersions over everything Jeremy Clarkson has ever written.
Yes, I mean, it's very interesting. I was shocked by it, but I didn't know that it was anything to do with Game of Thrones. That was his terrible mistake. The whole thing was a terrible mistake. But I think if somebody apologises in 3 different ways within a short time, you should be gracious.
But Angela's right, isn't it? I mean, you know, as I say, I would have thought the gracious thing to do would be to accept Clarkson's apology, but they didn't do that. They got a right to do that. But to start then in a statement to the world, delivering their opinion on everything he's ever written, saying that he propagates and supports conspiracy theories. When's he ever done that?
Yeah, and look, Meghan and Harry are back to their old favourite hobby, participating in and engendering and pushing on cancel culture. And who have they found that is ever eager to help with that? Dame Carolyn McCall of ITV, who's now cancelled Jeremy Clarkson's, it's reported, cancelled.
We don't know that yet, but as I understand it, what they've said is I think they've got a series in the can, so it's ready to roll. But she said, or ITV have said, there is no further plans to make any millionaires with Jeremy Clarkson at this moment. Amazon Prime Video have sort of said the same about Clarkson's Farm and the Grand Tour. They've got a series of each in the can, which they will run, but they say they've got no plans to work with him in the future. So he is being cancelled.
He's been cancelled, and Meghan has won it again. She achieved it with Piers Morgan. She wrote a letter to Carolyn McCall. Carolyn McCall cancelled him, and thank goodness, because now we get him unfiltered on TalkTV.
Yes.
But what's happened again? There's something that Meghan doesn't like. What does she do? She gets them cancelled. Meghan is one of the ultimate enemies of free speech in the world. She really is. She cannot tolerate criticism of herself. The moment someone does it, she tries to get them cancelled. And I think the idea that this country, your free speech is fine unless you upset the so-called princess out in California, that's not free speech at all. It's this cancel culture run amok.
And what conspiracy theories has Jeremy Clarkson supported or promoted in his glittering career? I can't remember him doing that ever.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And by the way, she knew when she read this piece it was a joke. Yeah. It was not a joke I would have made, but it might not be a joke that you made. Everybody knows what he was referring to, and everyone has to suspend their beliefs, suspend knowledge that they know it was a joke, and express outrage. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's terrible. He was literally suggesting that people would hurl excrement at her as they walked.
It was a joke. It was a bad joke.
Give over.
It was a bad joke, but and you know, I think it was right that he apologised for it. He realised he'd made a mistake, and he's apologised. But that apology is not being accepted, and you know, we are seeing before our very eyes that, you know, one of our best known TV stars, you know, trapped in this inexorable process of cancellation. It's not good.